realize, maybe you do, but we have a lot of tribal families in which people with young children are living in RVs, camping, couch surfing, with no place else to go. I work with a lot of families with young children in my position, so I'm very familiar with how many there are. A lot more than I would have ever expected, and over the last 4 years, that number is growing and growing and growing. So I'm highly concerned because this lack of stability creates lifelong consequences for these children, not only in their healthy development, but also in their academic success, which leads to later consequences. And I don't think that the housing problem is just about affordability and availability. There's a lot of other variables as well. So you have families in which a parent has a criminal history, or they have credit history problems. There's a lot of different things that contribute to this really complex problem. I am already familiar with what the tribe does. The tribe does a lot around housing. I know what we're doing, but my question to you is, where is this on your priority list, and what ideas do you have for addressing this crisis?
All right, so Denise has her hand up first, so let's go to Denise about housing.
Well, this is kind of, I guess, definitely one of my priorities has been since just working here at the tribe and trying to resolve those types of concerns and issues for our families. Without it looking like, often it comes up, oh, we're enabling them, we're handing out, and there is, I guess, some beliefs to that, and depending, but how do we come up with a system to assist and provide the support services that are needed? Because when we don't have those available to, you know, our adults that have these children, it's our children who suffer. And I'm a true believer that if we build the systems around our children and the benefit for them at the youngest ages that they are, in the long run, we'll be a healthier, better community. Our membership will be healthier. Some of the things I really push for, I mean, I've actually went to a lot of tiny home and homeless places, and to look at those, because I'm not one to judge unless I went and visited and looked at the services that some of these, Eugene has some great programs that they've put together for some of these families. And home ownership is a really big thing for me. I've been pushing forward for that for a while. I think we're finally getting to that path. I'm hoping we can start running down that path anytime soon, because that's going to create a change in our other units that will be available for some of our families. I've attempted to bring forward, NAIA has created some housing situations in the Portland area, and we're through partnerships with other tribes. So the Siletz tribes partnered with them and the other metro and county agencies for housing services. We've had the opportunity to also participate in that. I haven't been able to get the council to move forward on that. Siletz was able to give a small percentage of their HUD money to this project in Portland, and they secured 20 housing units in Portland for their tribal members. I wish that I could say we had done the same, but we haven't. So I will continue to push forward to that. So the housing crisis is everywhere across the country, but it is really a priority for me, for people that have children, and the lives that we create and the services we provide for their children.
The income to home disparity is becoming extremely prevalent, as a previous property owner, being able to watch the rents go up. I mean, rents in Willamina alone have increased over 40% in the last 2 years. Unfortunately, incomes, our ability to be able to maintain self-sufficiency has not. So we are facing what I call a social crisis, not just a housing crisis, but a social. I've got a son that, because of his alcohol and drug dependencies, okay, has drifted back and forth through states trying to be able to do that. Our social services process is weak. There's no getting around it. How can we try to be able to improve that situation? We're children of, as a previous bishop of a congregation of 488 members, 304 families, I faced that question on a daily basis. How can we get help to the individuals that need it when their rent has gone up and their utilities has gone up and they're just about ready for foreclosure or eviction? How do we get the families to be able to understand and improve their job capability? So it's not just a complex question, it's a complex process. So I think one of the things that we need to do as tribal council is take a look at what funds we do have available in our budgets to try to be able to allocate a certain amount to some different elements, and then try to be able to put a set of controls on those elements that are going to allow people to be able to do that. You know, I am pro per capita, but I sometimes wonder what would have happened had we not gone to per capita, and the $27 million a year that we placed in per capita would have went to increased improvements in job, education, economic development for local businesses. How do we create tribal member businesses to be able to become more self-sufficient? How do we improve our recovery processes? Our recovery process here, I'm sorry to say, is not very good. Okay, we need to be able to get more involved. I put my son in 4 different recovery systems. 4. And the one in Eugene was great because they actually forced my son to do things. Forced him to do his own laundry, forced him to work, forced him to be able to do things so he could become self-sufficient and work towards self-reliance. I don't think the tribe can do everything for everybody, but I think the tribe can create programs, micro-programs, if I can use that word, to be able to assist where a family member can come in and say, hey, I'm on my last leg. Now we've got an emergency fund, what is it, $200, $300? You know, $300, well that's great until you try to apply it to a $1,200 or $1,500 rent. It really isn't much. So how do we as a tribal council take a look at our budget and allocate funds to the social services program and the economic development program to be able to create a better sense of self-reliance and self-sufficiency? That's what we need to do, and we need to do it right away.
Please.
Thank you for your question, and there was multiple things to your question because there's a countrywide housing crisis. There's a countrywide opiate addiction, alcoholism, numerous, and homelessness. And then again, when parents are homeless, kids are homeless. So I think there are things that we're doing that are good. And, you know, there's housing developments being talked about. There was a meeting a few weeks ago, a community meeting about housing. I think we need to continue to do that. That's one of the best things I can think we can do. As far as a priority level, I think that would be near the top of anybody's priority level. Nobody wants to see a tribal member, especially with the services that we have and the resources that we have. We should be able to help every tribal member that we can. As far as good answers, this is not I'll fully admit this is not my area of expertise by any means. As I said, it's a nationwide issue. You know, nobody's came up with a lot of good solutions yet. That doesn't mean that I won't strive to help with everything we can. I think we can always continue to expand services where we can. I've had close family members that we've tried to help that, like Lou, help them through several different rehab centers, clean detox centers. They're doing good now, but it takes a lot of time, and that's the biggest part of it. Is the tribe is a family, I believe, and give as much help as you can also to the families that are trying to help those people, because that's they only can go where they can go for that help. So just continue to do services and continue to do housing as much as we can.
Thanks, Boone. Who'd like to go next on housing? Jack, let's get that.
Well, Angie, I'll be very honest with you. This topic has come up a few times only when somebody that in the media community comes forward and brings it up, and it's a topic for a week or so, and then it drops off the priority list. So I thank you for bringing this forward. I think I was very enlightened. I took a vacation a year ago and went to Yellowstone. And every RV park you went into was filled full of people that were living on a continuous basis in those RV parks. So I think it's a lot larger issue than when the fire starts. I think it's an issue that needs a lot of discussion. I think there's some families that live that lifestyle, enjoy that lifestyle that you probably couldn't change. There's some that are there because they have no way to get out of there. So, you know, I think it needs to be a continuous topic. We need to start focusing on it a little bit. And I think it was probably 2 winters ago when this was the last time council has even discussed this topic. And that was because we had people camping out up at on reservation and you know, and it was cold. And so I thank you for bringing it forward, and I will tell you I'll bring it to a higher priority than it has been in the past.
Kathleen?
Thanks, Angie, for bringing this issue forward. One of the things that I would like to pursue, and we've discussed some on Tribal Council, that I think will help address this is to, and it would have to employ new staff, but it's more of a case manager type service approach to our families who are most in need or have the highest critical need for services and assistance. And it's appropriate that you bring this forward because very often it's going to be the folks who work with schools or work with kids or work with preschools. That's where we often get contact with these families who are really in tremendous need. And so that's often going to be like the first line of contact. And the benefit, I think, of taking a more case management approach, we do have services, but very often we send a tribal member here to get maybe emergency utility assistance, and there to get some other emergency rental assistance, and over here maybe to get some counseling. And we kind of pass people back and forth. And for a family that's truly in crisis, a family that doesn't have any options left, and those are the families that we're talking about who are out of doors. You know, being sent from one service to the next and filling out a lot of paperwork, they wouldn't be where they are if they had the luxury to sit around and fill out a lot of paperwork. So the thing that I think is different about a case manager approach, and this has been taken in other places, is they walk that family through a wide variety of services. And they prioritize trying to remove for that family what are the biggest barriers to stability, housing, work for the adults for that family. So, you know, is it that they've had a financial crisis? Is it that we have some other issues going on in the family? Maybe there's some need for treatment or some need of family services or mental health supports. It's not for us to say, it's for somebody who works with that family to say and help that family identify what are our major barriers to housing and stability. We know that you know, one of the most stabilizing things for any family or any adult individual is a job. If you can get and keep a job, everything else is going to flow better. But right now, you know we have some families they have that barrier. So if we have a case manager who's dedicated to a small number of families who are in very high-risk situations, I think there's not going to be that passing families from one service to the next and hoping that the connection is made. Because very often maybe they can't get a ride back out to Grand Ronde to make that next appointment. So I think the case manager approach would be very helpful, and I'd like to see us pursue it. I also think, and I'll admit this is a relatively small number of families in the larger universe of families that are having high problems, but we've had a small number of cases where individual tribal members or tribal families have had to move out of tribal housing. There are certain things in our housing rules that, you know, if you're going to, for example, use meth, you know, you can't stay here. That's always a heartbreaking situation because we never want our families to have to leave housing, certainly in those circumstances. We want to get them services. But too often we find that for whatever reason, tribal members are choosing to leave housing rather than accept the services. And so we've been working with social services and we've been working with the administration at housing is how can we make that family or that person an offer that's more attractive to them? How can we make it worth their while to accept the services? Because that's what we really want to do. We really want to say, what is the help that you need and how can we get it to you so that you can stay here? And right now, our rules and the way we implement them are that we're not offering them something that's attractive enough for them to accept the services. And so we're working with housing, we're working with administration, maybe some ordinance amendments that might be necessary so that we can offer some like last chance agreements that say, hey, if you will get this help, if you will accept these services, we want to keep you housed. We don't want you to have to move out. So those are a couple things I think we can keep working on.
Good. Let's go to Ray.
Well, I guess, thanks for the question. I guess I look at this as, this one kind of goes with the veterans, and this is what I've talked about, with enrollment being the priority for the past 3 or 4 years. Some of these things are really going by without being a priority for your membership. And this would be one, when I was on council, I always said there's ones that are life impacting, like your health care. You would add this to housing. To like our elders' pension, who our elders count on that money coming in. These are life impacting ones and they need to be a priority, but it seems like them haven't been a priority over the last years. Now how you would get to it, I don't really have the full answer. First thing, I think you got to go to the problem. I think you need to go to Portland. I think you need to go to Salem, Eugene, some of the main places where the main populations of our tribe are, and actually have caseworkers and try and figure this out. Years ago, me and Cheryl talked a lot about how you would walk a family through the whole process of getting somebody a job, make them, you know, be more accountable to their own families and working that through. But since that time, you know, this whole not being homeless has escalated to a huge piece. And also, you can't just say, well, we're going to do this. You got to come in mind where you're going to go to get the money. I think you go to get the money, we've got a housing endowment. I think you have to go back and look at the last fall when we reduced the use of the interest on our endowments from 15 to 10%. I think you could go and look there to have a money source to at least start or get started with it. That money is what we used to use a lot of for these issues that arise as major projects for the tribe. So I think there's ways to do it. I don't think anybody really has an answer to this whole homeless issue. It's just exploded. Towns are having, cities are having problems with it. I think being smaller as a tribe, I think we could address it a lot better. Whether we can resolve it for everybody, probably not. But you got to look at the source of where you're going to do it, and you got to put it on a priority list, and you got to fulfill your priority commitment.
Thanks, man. Did everybody get a chance?
I just wanted to provide a follow-up on that.
Sure, I'm going to give you just 1 minute then, please. Yeah, please.
I just wanted to follow up on that because I'm sure Angie's well aware of this, being in the position that she has. Is there's a family engagement protocol for our preschool kids within our education system. We have wraparound services. The thing that we're really missing is the access to fulfill those needs. And that's happening throughout, for our veterans, throughout every city. The services to help those people get, but there's no home or no place to put them. And that's what we're missing. The tribe has been contacted many times. I've been to, like I said before, been to many of these places because we have different land use issues here than other counties, and it could be potentially easier for us to at least provide something within Willamina. Michael's probably aware of it because he's been working with the Yamhill County community development piece. There's been some funding opportunities, but it's a matter of getting somebody to have a piece of land where you can develop these homes or places for people to live. That's the shortage. We have wraparound services. There's a ton of it. Veterans give out vouchers, but they can't get to a house to use the voucher because there's no house. So it's the not having the access and the ability to move them to that next step.
Anybody else want to have a follow-up on this particular one? So the other candidates, I'll give you guys follow-ups on the future question too.
Thanks, Denise. starting to turn.
Cool.
So, I'm sure this comes as no surprise to anybody up there, but over the last few years, it's become increasingly difficult to fill positions at the casino. Now, that's for a lot of reasons, but it's more so because since minimum wage has been bumped up. And quite frankly, the novelty of working at a casino is gone. So my question is, what are your ideas to entice people to come work at the casino and retention of current employees?
Great question. So with the increased minimum wage, it's harder to get people to commute out to the casino. So what is your plan to recruit and retain qualified candidates to work at the casino? So Lou's going to go first.
Can I just start by something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not speaking of executive or managers. I'm talking frontline staff. Frontline staff is the face of our casino. They're the first impression that our guests get. Those are the people that I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, so entry-level frontline staff in particular.
Well, Mike, as you know, as a member, as an ex-manager in the tribe, and sitting on the management team, you and I have both supported not only annual COLAs for the employees, but also merit increases back to where they were. In 2007, we had this astronomical fear, okay, that we were going to have some type of collision somewhere along the line. And then also with the Cowlitz thing. First, I think that our minimum wage at the casino and our wage at the casino should be comparable to our wages at the tribe. One of the things that I faced as an EVS manager was, why is it that tribal employees and facilities gets paid $3 an hour more starting wage than those individuals at the casino, when the individuals at the casino have to work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day to try to be able to do that. And they say, well, the government is not like a business. Well, the government's not like a business because we haven't made government like business. I've always fought. I fought for the COLA that we got. I didn't think that it was enough. I fought for unemployment or increased employment. I've had lots of conversations with different tribal council members, and Mike and I, when he was in audit, used to discuss this on a regular basis. The other thing, Mike, I think that we need to be able to do is we need to go back. Once you give an employee something and then you take it away, they resent that. And maybe we started wrong in 1996 when we had the company picnics. 1995. Okay, we had the company picnics. You know, when I started there was 25 different incentive programs. I mean, they were giving out little things that people enjoyed, had fun. It was a family. And we stopped doing that because we were afraid our revenue was going to drop. Okay, Justin Martin and his 41% reduction in revenue, which was basically false, as false as you can get. Okay, said we weren't going to be able to do it. So he took things away. I think if we start to give things back, if we start to become a family again, if we start to take a serious look at minimum wage being able to get up, why would I drive 30 miles for $10.75 an hour when I can walk across the street at McDonald's and get 12? Now I understand that our minimum wage is going up at the tribe.
July 1st.
Is our minimum wage going up at the casino? It is, and it's going up to $12 an hour? Okay. So we're starting to make improvements. Coinciding with that, we also need to start giving a sense of family back to the employees and being able to provide different little incentives that they can do. We've tried a lot. In the 19 years that I was there, we saw a lot. Okay? But we need to start giving back to the employees. And we need to be able to do that through qualified incentive programs, active COLAs that they know they can count on, okay, and stronger merit. Now, one of the things that they did, and I thought it was kind of weird, is we used to have an evaluation process that was unacceptable, needs improvement, meets expectations, exceeds expectation, and outstanding. And now we've created another one, what is it, superior, something like that, where, what does that mean? You know, why can't we go back to 6%? If I get an outstanding, why can't I go back to 6%? You know, when I started there, Mike, because of whatever happened, and I'm going to say this, I started at $11.53 an hour. That was my starting wage at the casino in 1999. Prior to 1999, you know what starting wage at the casino for maintenance was? $15 an hour. It didn't require a background of those types of things. They cut it down because they said it wasn't worth it. You know? And when you do that and you are a good employee, managers try to be able to figure out ways to get you an outstanding evaluation so they can give you the 6%. I know, I saw it happen a couple of times. We even went so far as to be able to create. I'm done. I didn't hear you thumping.
You were passionate. It was good. It was good. Boone is next.
As being almost 21 years now at the casino, I agree with Lou that we in the past have, I don't treat it as a strong word, but treated our employees much better in the past. You know, we used to give a lot. We used to do a lot of incentives. There was one incentive that I'm sure you remember, Mike, that I want to say it started out like $10, went down to $5, but you got like $5 a month per employee, or figured out to like $60 a year. And you could do things with it, like each department did something different. We did a Christmas party where they bought $60, you know, a $60 gift for every person. We did like a white elephant. So I think there's incentive programs that we can maybe give back. I think the number one thing is just going to be have to raise wages. I mean, you know, there's a lot of talk of the, you know, $15 minimum wage too. It's got to be a living wage. It can't just be you know, a raise enough to show that, hey, we're doing something. It's got to be a livable wage. Amazon is going to be opening a center in Salem soon. That's going to be start at $15 an hour. That's a huge area for where our employees come from. And as you said, and I see it all the time, and I can't talk about it enough, is that we're having a hard time getting and retaining employees now. Now you're gonna have something where you can start out at $15 an hour and drive 5 minutes to work instead of 45. It's just, you know, it's simple and it's not simple. It's simple as in we're going to have to raise wages. We're going to have to do more to make the employees feel appreciated. We have a gas station that, you know, that isn't a necessity. You know, you never want to bleed money, but I don't think it's a necessity that we make a ton of money off of it. Why can't we give gas incentives like we did in the past? You know, you get 5 or 10 cents off a gallon, so that, you know, that because we're in a place where no matter what, you're driving for the most part at least 10 miles to work. Yeah, so it's, like I said, I think it's fairly simple. You know, wages are going to have to be raised. Employees are going to have to be felt appreciated, and plus, it's eventually that, like it or not, is our #1 revenue stream, and we have to take care of it to continue the services of how, you know, as was discussed in the last one, housing. All those, many of those services and the money from those services come from that casino. So we have to do what we can to take care of that entity, because that's, in a lot of ways, our lifeblood. So thank you.
So we're going to go Denise first and then Red. Denise, I'm going to ask you to keep it to 1 minute on this one, please.
I just wanted to say real quick, I worked in a 24/7 business for the 18 years of my life. One of the things I addressed back when I first came to work here and was working with the former CFO, Roy Rohde, was addressing those issues and providing childcare and housing. I remember when they were building the phase 2 of family housing, I actually went to the LIC meeting and asked the council about creating housing for our employees in the area. That has never been addressed. Childcare has never been addressed. It's all been brought forward in the past. One of the things this council has done in just the last few years is we put back in cost of living wages, but the casino had never given that in the past. That was new. We put back in the holiday incentives for the employees, and they still have not, I don't think, put in the shift differential. Shift differential was a big deal to me when I worked in a 24/7 business, and we have taken that benefit away. I think they did back in 2007, 2008 maybe. Those are benefits that you have to maintain in a 24/7 business.
Thanks, Denise. Red.
Yeah, I don't know how long is this going to go, because I'm going to head back to the powwow. I need my rest before I do grand entry.
Yeah, I think we'll be done by noon.
Okay.
I think another 20 minutes ago.
I'll just make it really quick, man. I actually chair the board down at Spirit Mountain. So I understand a lot of the frustrations. We may have started out a little high on our benefits. We may have started out on too many employees. We did the same thing over at the C-store, and we found out that didn't work, and we had to reduce back to make some type of profit or whatever. I think we are, as Boone and some mentioned, we are starting baby steps forward to start improving things. I got a little concerned as to the amount of people that we have. I think maybe we might need a few more, because I've heard some comments on customer service actually down at the powwow from people staying over at the motel. We'll call Stan and address those with him. But I think overall people need to also understand when we went through, a lot of the problems started when we hit the 07, 08 in the fall of the market. And basically we had to reduce, we were going to reduce substantially in revenue. And basically we had to make adjustments. We got caught in the middle of a $70 million expansion. We had to figure out how to pay for that. And now I think we're working our way back up. And I think as we go, and I think things are starting, a few of the things are starting to come back. I was a logger for 25 years, so I clearly understand the difference between 25 cents and 75-cent raises and stuff. So I think we're headed in that right direction. Whether it's fast enough for people, I really don't know. But I really do think the board is looking at a lot of different things. Actually, Boone brought a presentation as an employee down there, and we welcome them. Anybody who wants to give us a presentation in a board meeting or something, recommendations on raises or any adjustments for the employees down there, we certainly welcome them. Give them to me, give them to one of the board members, and we'll take a look at them.
I appreciate the question, because those frontline people, they make the most direct impact on our customers in the building. When people come in and they don't get good service, that's what they're going to tell all their friends when they leave. But the challenge is, if we are overworking our frontline staff, it becomes really hard to be on your A game every single day. So I think this needs to be a bigger priority than it is. I did join the board of Spirit Mountain Development Corp when I got on tribal council, because I felt it was important to learn about that facility inside and out and take care of our economic engine. On the board and as a council member, I was a strong supporter for adding the COLA back to the wages for the folks working at the casino. I also was an advocate for a compensation study that got done. But I have a lot of problems with the way it was implemented. I was really uncomfortable with what was done in terms of implementation, but that's a much longer conversation that we can't cover here. I think we have to look at those positions that are those frontline high customer contact positions and those with a high turnover rate. HR can tell us what those are. And then those need to be prioritized to be brought up to a level where we can keep the positions that we need full to meet our business needs. Now, one of the first things you always hear about that is, well, if we just increase wages, we're gonna cause compaction. Other employees will be unhappy if that position makes more money. Well, if you'd like to apply for that position, that's an option that's available to you. But I don't think it's a good business strategy to leave those positions unfilled when they have such high customer impact. So I think we should identify those positions by percentage of turnover and high customer impact. And we just have to fill those positions. We have to make it a business priority. And we have to realize that employee morale is a necessary business asset. When your employees are unhappy, when you walk the floor and you talk to people about how it's going, and you hear a lot more negative than you do positive, and it's not just general gripes, they've got very specific reasons why they feel the way they do. We have to address that, and we have to create more opportunities for the employees to talk about what they need. Where can we provide them some more flexibility? And in regard to those high turnover positions, I think we're going to have to increase wages. Thank you.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not a new issue, but I think, Mike, you made a good point. It's targeted at the lower levels and not upper level management stuff. And every time we do a comp study, we do it globally for the organization. And I think with the help of our new HR manager and I guess some pushing from towards the legal staff, because we do got to meet employment law requirements. Maybe we can target a specific range and focus on that specific range and make it, you know, so that we can boost up those salaries to get those people, get them to stay, you know, because that entry-level people seems like to me they, you know, we've got probably one of the best benefit packages in the world. But that isn't a priority to them. It's that cash that they get in their paycheck. You know, they're usually people that already have insurance or something. But I think if we focus on that lower group and, you know, get by the employment laws somehow, I don't know how we'd do that, but and, you know, make it a living wage. You know, we're not the only property that has this problem. Everybody has this problem. You know, you travel around, you see help wanted signs in almost every business.
And Donald Trump.
So I think if we get on the forefront of it and figure out a way that we can boost those entry-level salaries up to a living wage, we may have some success, because that is the key to good customer service, is those people that when they first make contact with those customers.
So Lou, I'll give you one minute this time.
1 minute.
Went over a little bit left.
All right, here we go. Mike, you know, I managed the Environmental Services Department for 2.5 years before I decided to retire. When you manage the department 24/7, where you are one of the lowest paid departments in the casino, and they add 130,000 square feet of building to it, like they did in the South Expansion, while reducing your staff from 103 to 85, you begin to understand the problems that are created. And I went back and said, we need to get more people up. The comment was, well, you ran the department for a year with 85 people. Do you need more than that? Yes, we do need more than that. We need the 103 that we originally had before you added the South Expansion. We don't have the time. Things are getting missed. People are getting tired. Absences are increasing because people are getting frustrated. They're getting tired. They need the rest. When you're using blackout days to try to be able to make employees stay, it's not going to work. So I agree with everybody that's sitting up here today. We need to increase wages. We need to increase the number of employees. We need to go back to be able to create some incentives that people are actually going to be able to use.
So just a quick logistic check. I think we're going to do one more question. I'm going to kind of try and keep it short, and then we'll ask the candidates to go ahead and close out final minute kind of comments. So go ahead and start thinking about your final comments. And one question right here.
My name is Linda. I'm a retired educator and criminologist. My concern is what's being done first off. Two things I'd just like to mention. The greatest need is security for your women in your community. The highest targeted race in the nation is American Indian women for kidnapping. Second issue is, what are you doing to transition your students from 7th grade through high school into your casinos? Why don't you see your students and your youth as your future resources? They're sitting around going, well, what do we do? We're on computers. We know how to use technology. What program do you have from junior high to high school to put your students into society as prepared citizens? And as a retired educator, this is a big passion of mine, because I see it all too often. They're only to be seen, not heard. They're nothing but trouble. They're running in the streets. They're just homeless. They're just druggies. They're souls, and they need to be addressed. And you need to start right now stopping with this, what we did in the past. It doesn't matter. Yesterday doesn't matter. Right now matters. The future matters. You got a potential for a 9.5 for 9 minutes on the West Coast. How are you prepared for that? That's all I have to say to this committee. You have to today, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks. Okay. Yeah, let me paraphrase. I think the first question is about us against women. what do you all as candidates propose to do about that? It is a big issue. It was just last month we had a National Violence Against Women recognition or awareness. I think the second question is about youth programs.
I have a question first. Does anybody know the person that just left?
I do not know her, no.
Is this person a tribal member? She's not listening to the answer, so she's not.
Back.
You said one more question. I have a question.
I think that's fair, Angie. Yeah, she's still not, for some reason got upset. I don't know why she's upset. This has been going really well today. You guys
I don't think those are
great.
questions you guys can answer. You guys can't answer that question, really.
Well, no,
Because
but I think to Angie's point,
it's different for different people. I mean,
well, but Michael, I think to Angie's point is a good one. She asks a question, then she leaves. We don't know who she is, so let's go ahead and have a tribal member who's going to stay and listen to it, ask the final question, and I agree.
I don't want to say. I'm just doing that.
No, I think it's a good suggestion. I think it's right. I don't know why she got upset and left, to be honest.
it's almost like saying, why are you getting 21 money?
Right.
I'm just curious if she's even.
I have no idea who she is. I've never seen her before. It sounds like nobody knows her here. Okay. Do you know her? No.
Angie, that's not something we should talk about. Really.
Yeah, I don't really think we have to answer the question. Apparently she does not know us well.
Right?
I think a lot of our women people are coming forward and creating that protection now. And I don't think anybody can question our education process of getting our kids ready to go out into the world.
Yeah, I'm a product of that.
Yeah, we got a lot of good products out there, so I don't think she knew what she was talking about.
I agree.
Talking about the parents raising their children in a way. The way the parents raise their children.
Yeah, let's get one. I think it's a good suggestion. So does anyone have one final quick question? Because I do want to try to get us out of here shortly after 12.
I know it can't be answered, but I can ask one. Is there a way to try to come up with a credit union? A banking system for our tribal members?
Okay.
Is there a way for that?
Yeah, there is definitely a way. It's very difficult.
Is it possible?
It is possible, yes. It is possible.
Okay.
So, is that actually, let's go to, Angie, you had a question.
I do, but I just want to make sure, like, I had a turn, so if nobody
Does anybody else in the audience want to ask a general question of the candidates?
When she was swirling that thing, I was like, don't hit me, don't hit me. What are you doing here?
Angie, let's go to your question.
Okay, if nobody else has a question. Many candidates have said, I think the tribal members should have more of a voice. And it comes up, most recently it's come up in this purchase of Willamette Falls property, for example, but it comes up throughout the years. Everybody says, I think tribal members should have more of a voice. So I want to know from the candidates, how would you give tribal members more of a voice? And not just, I'm looking for specifically through ordinance, through constitutional amendment, what would you do in policy, in practice, in order to make that happen?
Right.
Brian, would you repeat that? I couldn't hear words you said.
Let me repeat it then. So I think Angie's asking, what would you do as a candidate on council to empower the people through policy changes or ordinance changes to allow for the tribal members to have more decision-making authority? Is that fair?
Okay, I would say basically, and I was not fortunate to come on council in 96, and I was back and there wasn't a lot of people, honestly, membership was not coming and wanted to be part of that. Your mom was on council, they left it to the 9 council to make all the decisions. Now I think, obviously the population of the tribe has grew, the wealth of the tribe has grew. I strongly feel, and I started advocating for this, getting the input from the membership. I think there's things that potentially could be in ordinances, potentially, I think, a lot better embedded in the Constitution. I think things like what happened with the blue herring mill deal, not getting into whether it was good or whether it was bad. And I know we have passed things in councils before with just 4 votes because you do the majority once it gets to legislative action. But realistically, $16 million was approved with 4 people. And I think that needs to be somewhat addressed. That we need to change that by either ordinance or put it in the Constitution. And the same thing, you got endowments. You can't move the endowment money without 9 people. That needs to be embedded also, that you can't spend whatever the membership would be comfortable with, $10 million unless all 9 council agree. So I think some of these things need to be, and I think you would test run them through ordinance first and see how it works out, because certainly you don't want to damage the tribe and not have the ability to move forward on some, but you would test them with ordinances, because the ordinances can be changed, and then you'd put them out to the membership. Okay, now do you want this in the Constitution so the Constitution could change it? That's my thoughts on seeing it from my time on council. And I think handing the membership an opportunity to speak on stuff would really take pressure off the council. Because if they come in and say, yep, blue herring, well, then your job is to make it work. Your job ain't to keep holding it up, then your job is to make it work.
That's right. That's an interesting quote. Look.
So I want to agree with Ren, because him and I were talking about that last night, that I would like to see something similar to how you can't take out any endowments unless it's a unanimous decision by the council. Now, whether that's $10 million, $15, or $15 million, $20 million, whatever that is, there's certain things that I think definitely should be up to the membership. Enrollment. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, because there are things that have to move along quickly or you'll lose out on opportunities. So sometimes when that has to go to a vote of the membership. So it's a thing that I would like to see some community meetings done. I would like to hear from the membership what they want to have a say in. Do you want to have a say in how much money do you want a cap on how much council can approve before it's spent? Do you want what do you want as members to have a say? Because there's day-to-day things that are just going to happen that you don't need to say in everything. So I think what I would like to hear is from the membership, what exactly do you want to say in, and then when you have that information, you can proceed forward with making those happen. But yes, I want to hear it. It's in my letter. I want to hear from the membership. I'm always open to ideas, but yeah, I would love to hear more from the membership.
Should members have a say before the council decides on things? There's been an issue lately on Facebook that the members were not informed of decisions that were made by a few people, and then there's a lot of backlash about not being told about it ahead of time.
So Michael, I think that's the.
You know what I mean? I think that's the prevailing thing going on Facebook right now, is that things are decided on before the membership knew about it, and members are saying, well, how come you didn't tell us first?
Yeah.
Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, that's the question. That's the question right now, I think. And I think what Rand and Boone are advocating for is trying an ordinance to do just that. Set a cap.
Now, should that happen? Like, it should become a vote to the members?
That's the question right now.
That's what I was saying. Is I want to know from the membership what you want to say, because there's going to be day-to-day things that just happen. You would ground things to a halt if the membership had to say everything. But,
it can't be everything for everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's going to be naysayers no matter what.
I want to know from membership what do you want a voice in.
Right.
So Michael, I think you're asking the same thing as Angie. I would just ask that we wait so we can get all the candidates.
I just said it in a different way, right?
Yeah. So, go ahead, Denise.
Okay. I do that a lot.
Okay, first of all, I'd just like to say some people really need to walk their talk, because in 2016 we put forward a constitutional amendment to reduce the required amount of members, the 2/3 requirement for a referendum, and we had people that talked about they want more of a power and a voice to the people that encourage people to vote against that. So there was a real opportunity for change in the membership to have a voice, or a stronger voice, and they voted against it. Also, an economic investment board. It's been asked for, a couple of ATPs on the table, can't get 5 people to sign off on it. And I'll tell you, when it comes to these investment projects, that's why I wanted an investment board, so that we would have a group of people that could be a voice for the people other than the council. But we've proposed, I'm not going to give an exact number, but more than $16 million before on that table that some people here that were on the council signed off on. Luckily, we didn't move forward on it because they couldn't get enough signatures from the council to move it forward. But they're the first ones to get up and talk and complain about this $16 million purchase, even though there's been past practice of many times when these things have been signed off on those individuals without any voice, any message to the membership. So we, this time, actually informed the membership about it and gave, you know, before we purchased it, we still haven't purchased it. But MKC, we bought that, then told the membership. Nobody talked about any money, nobody talked about what it was, there was no due process, there was none of that during that. But that was okay back then, I guess. It's just today, for some reason, it's not okay. So I always have encouraged more voice of the people. We have put forward constitutional amendments, economic board, investment boards, so we're doing the advisory votes. So those are all things that we've tried to fix in the last few years.
Thanks. Anybody down here want to go next?
Thanks, Jack.
We'll go Lou, Jack, and then Catherine.
Okay, to make it short and sweet, one, I think we need to create some type of an ordinance, okay, that does give people a voice and see how it works. I think getting the majority down to a specific level that's actually acceptable is going to be one of those ways to be able to do that. The second thing is, since economic development became an issue, I've always supported an economic development board of advisors that's made up of professional individuals that understand what they need to be able to do to take tribal council out of some of the initial decisions. Because to be perfectly honest, there's a lot of people on tribal council that aren't educated, okay, in specific elements, and they rely so much on going back to legal or going back to our engineer, going back to somebody else. And the reality of it is, they don't have that experience. So let's get together a board that actually does, that can ask the questions about due diligence. We keep talking about due diligence. You know, there's 4 major elements of due diligence, and I've only heard of 2. I've only heard them discuss 2. So, you know, we do need that. And I think the tribe does need to have some type of an idea as to where they can actually have a voice. $5 million investment, put it out to the people. $10 million investment, put it out to the people. Let the people decide. So there's a process of being able to do that, and we need to be able to get to it relatively quickly because we are becoming a more economically based tribe. We used to invest our money in powwow grounds, invest our money in longhouses, invest our money in HR buildings or whatever we decide that we want to try to be able to make improvements to our cultural and administrative aspect. But we're starting to talk on a daily basis, and I'm not familiar with a lot of the conversations, 10, $15 million deals, okay? A lot of questions. The 2 pieces of property that we're talking about, and I don't want to go backwards. I'm interested in what we can do in the future to try to be able to give the tribal membership a voice politically on what we need to be able to do and how we can help tribal council reach the decisions they can while they're trying to take care of the myriad of other things that tribal council needs to do.
Let's go Jack and then Catherine.
Thank you. I think it's a very important question, and I think to start off with, I think the council, this council, future councils need to hear the voice of the membership. We also need to give them more opportunities to state their voice. I mean, I can flash back on past when lots of council members or lots of tribal members came in and voiced their opinion. We laid no weight to their opinion. And, you know, I could think of a couple quick areas that we could do, you know, listen to their voice. You know, like if we make a purchase over 10 million, we should ask the membership if this is something they're willing to spend their money on. Because it is, all the money that this tribe has is the membership's money. I think, you know, in ordinances, we put the ordinance out for a 30-day comment period. I think we could do a lot better job of listening to their comments and injecting them in the ordinance language. I feel we get set once we post an ordinance. We don't really pay attention to what the members are their comments. I think we should have a lot more, I guess, input from the membership on Like, you know, we did a little better job on the home ownership project. We got out there and asked them what they want. But, you know, I have an idea if I was going to buy a home, what I want, but does that meet their needs? So there's things like that that we need to do a better job of listening to their voice. We need to have, do a better job of listening to their voice in the aspect of which direction are we going in for the future. You know, do we want to put, we've never asked the membership, do we want to put more money towards education? Do we want to put more money to housing? You know, we just assume that we're going to do these things. And that's where I think we can make a lot better impact on listening to the membership's voice. You know, there's big decisions that come down that, you know, you can't announce it to the membership because there might be some legal reasons why. But at the first available opportunity, we should start asking the membership questions and listening to their suggestions on those issues. As far as past practice, you know, I'm all about, we're moving to the future. You know, everybody's made mistakes in their life. Everybody's made mistakes on decision-making process. But, you know, we can sit here and say, pinpoint this, pinpoint that, but learn from your mistakes and move forward. You know, just like this time, you know, Denise was stating that we were out there ahead of the game. Well, we weren't out there ahead of the game because the newspaper's the one that made us announce it, not that we were ready to announce it. So it's just learn from our mistakes and move forward and listen to what the membership has to say. You know, whether it be comments on an ordinance, listen to what they have to say. You know, it doesn't have to be everything, big total projects, all the projects, but if they have a comment on those projects, listen to it, evaluate it, and if you can, inject it in the decision.
Kathleen?
Again, really great question. Thank you, Angie. And I think it's always the case. The very best way to know how a leader is going to act in the future is look at how they have acted to date. And I'm really proud of some of the things we've done over the last several years to communicate better and get more input from the tribal memberships. I think one of the biggest things we've done is make an amendment to the General Council ordinance for the advisory vote process. We institutionalize that. That happens every year, and you can already see how that is changing the work and the investment of our tribe. So every year we go out to various tribal communities, we get input from the membership about what are the questions you'd like to have a say in. And we can't pick 20, but we try to hone that down. What do we think are the ones that really had the most interest? And we do put those out to the membership, and you can see that that is changing our work. That is why we had a constitutional amendment election. That is why we are building market rate elders housing, and we could go on with more examples. But it's changing the way we govern, and we put it in the ordinance, so it's something we're going to do every single year, and tribal members are affecting the way we work. I'm sorry that Jack had to step out because I wanted to clarify something. In regard to the recent real estate purchase we've all been talking about, Blue Heron, we were actually ready to make an announcement that night at that evening's meeting. We did. Somebody leaked the story to the press. That's outside of our control. But it was that very day, the first opportunity that we had when our negotiations were complete, that we were going to announce that to the tribal membership. And so that was going to happen the same day. That was just leaked to the press. So I don't know if he didn't attend that meeting or how he got that information. We have also made more of tribal members' information available to them so that they know what they might be interested in saying to the tribe. You know, it used to be that tribal members couldn't even review their own enrollment file in its entirety. There were parts of the file that wouldn't be shown to tribal members. Well, boy, until you find out what's in there, you're not really sure what you might say to the tribe about it, but making that information available will really inform what you might want to talk to your tribe about. So we also now have a time frame for removing the confidentiality status of documents, so that's available to tribal membership. And I think tribes need to have access to their information about our tribe. We also restored the public relations role at Grand Ronde, which is a huge need for our tribe. We've hired an incredibly sharp and talented young tribal member who's come back to our community, and she's realizing that it's not just a newspaper that tribal members need today, but it's video, it's podcasts. She's on social media putting out information about our culture and our history and upcoming events that get thousands of hits. She's bringing the media out to Grand Ronde to cover the opening of Chichalu and our exhibit and our cultural events, our fishing at Willamette Falls. That benefits all our tribal members, no matter where they live, and it educates the rest of the state about what's going on out here. We are also addressing, I'll just give another key example. We're opening up community conversations, saying we don't even know what we're going to do about this yet, tribal members, but we want to talk to you about the miners' trust, for example. We've heard there's a lot of concern about it, so we're going to allow you to inform us. Those are just a few examples, and I think we can really keep going in this direction. Thank you.
So Boone or Ren or Jack or Kathleen, do you guys want to use, because that was my question, so if you want to follow up, here, now's a chance to take advantage. Would you like to say anything else on that subject?
You could let me keep going.
I'm sorry. I didn't actually go over that. So, all right, well, that's it. So, hey, we're going to go ahead and move to closing statements. So try to keep it to a minute, please. Who'd like to go first? Boom, please.
So one last time, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today, the candidates for coming today, and everybody watching. I'm going to keep mine very, very short. We're all ready to get out of here. I'm running for council for the simple reason that I've personally and family has been given a ton by this tribe. You know, home with house, or help with buying a home, health care, a job to provide for my family. And I just want to continue to protect those for tribal members, add to those for tribal members, and that's really why I'm doing this. Is just I've been given a wealth, and I want to continue to give that to other members, future generations as well.
That's good. Would like to go next? Please, please.
So, first of all, I'd like to say, I think it is really important. I think it was somebody here that said about when you're looking at your candidate to select, to look back at their past decisions and their actions that they have taken and the roles that they have been here and the decisions that they have made for our people. So I think that's really important. I love my job. I was elected in 2013. This will be my third term if I'm re-elected. I feel like I still have work to do. And I am so appreciative of my time and opportunity that I got to work for the tribal government, got to be the chair of the Gaming Commission. I've learned the internal workings of our programs and how our government operates and how our casino operates, and I sit on some, I love fighting for national issues for all of Indian country, not only issues that affect our tribe and our people, but for all Indian people. So please, when you look at those work history and the decisions that we've made and the changes that we've made, and vote for Denise Harvey. Thank you.
Let's go to Jack.
Yeah, you look around and we've came a long ways. I'm a tribal member from before termination, and I'm a tribal member ever since restoration. So we've came a long ways. We've seen a lot of change, some good, some not so good. And we still have a lot of work to do to get to the point where, we just placed this statue of the visionaries down there. And the visionaries bestowed in me the attitude that we want to create a better life for each and every member. That should be our first priority, and that's my first priority. If we can't improve the life of our memberships first, we're missing the boat, in my opinion. But I want to say that each and every one of these folks that's been up here today and answering your questions can fill the job. It's a matter of what your needs are, and the tribe has grown quite a bit since restoration. And the voter count hasn't changed much at all. In the early years, we had maybe 900. Now we got 12. In the early years, we had, when we were restored, we had like 1,300 members. Now we got 5,600 members. We're not getting the membership involvement. And one way we can listen to their voice is by them voting and voting for the people that they think will meet their needs the best. So I've been doing this 15 years. It's in my heart, and even if I don't get reelected, I'll still be coming back to the meetings and asking questions because the membership's in my heart. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Who'd like to go next?
Sure.
Kathy?
Thank you everyone for coming today and listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming today and for listening to all the candidates and what they have to share. It has been one of the greatest honors of my life to serve our people for the last 3 years on Tribal Council. I've dedicated my career to working for tribal people and helping them accomplish their goals, and I think we're making great strides in that regard on Tribal Council in the last 3 years. We are more accountable and more open than we were just a few years ago, and we are also a healing tribe, right? We are recovering from a disenrollment area that tore our tribe apart, tore families apart, and we're still healing and working our way forward. But I think we were doing it in a good way. I want us to continue to move forward in being more and more accountable. One of the important things we did was we created a free press. That means Tribal Council does not control the news you hear about the work that we do. We are reported on independently, and we don't try to control that story. And that's because we believe it's more important for the tribal members to get an independent view of what we're working on, than it is for us to influence those messages. We're building new housing, we're creating new opportunities for our tribal members, but all the work that we have to do has to be done in the right way. We have to bring the highest ethical standards to our work. We have to hold one another accountable. We have to commit to treating each tribal member fairly and each family fairly. There should never be different standards for different groups of people in our tribe. And we have to do all our work with a heart for our culture and our people. And I believe that we're living that. We're living that by fishing at the falls. We're living that by showing our children our hunting and gathering rights in action out in the world. And so I ask the honor of serving you another 3 years on Tribal Council, and I humbly ask for your support. Ayumasi.
First run, first time, but I've been around for 19 years at the tribe and at the casino in different capacities. I've had an opportunity to be able to see firsthand some of the difficulties that we need to be able to overcome at the casino, wages, employment, and those types of things, as at the tribe, as a public works manager. I've had an opportunity to be able to see some of the biases that are created there. I think we've got a good council. And if everything stayed the same, we'd still have a good council. But I believe that I, as an individual, with an education facilities and that type of thing, can bring some things to the table that are going to be able to assist us in continuing to grow. I ask for your support and the support of those individuals that are working for us now. Thank you.
Yeah, well, why I come back to get on council, I got really a different perspective after being off for 2 years, being on this side of the table of the membership. Nobody can question my loyalty to Grand Ronde. I live and breathe Grand Ronde from the day I was born, all through termination. Somebody mentioned about, you stand by what you was part of. I was very fortunate to be part of a very older council that had a lot of wisdom on needs of the membership, and I've never left that. I was there when we created healthcare. I was there when we created per capita. I was there when we only had 3 scholarships. I was there during all of what we've done for our elders. Obviously, I testified and fought for our ceremony, hunting and fishing rights. So for me, I believe that's why I chose to come back. Like I said, I think some of these things are being overlooked. They're not focused on. And I'm a believer in, you got to believe in what's Grand Ronde, what's best for the membership first, not what's best for our tribal government actually, not what's best for the outside government, but what's best for our membership. And I learned that from my elders, I learned that from my grandparents, my dad, my mom, And that's what I'm all about. I'm very proud of all the services and benefits. Did I make all the correct decisions? No, I did not. There were decisions I made wrong, but I'll own those decisions. And coming back after being off 2 years, I think I can be a better council person. And I will say, I think you need to look at your policy. I didn't come here to be held accountable for my past decisions. I think there were some jabs taken at my past decisions today. I ain't here to counter them or explain them. I certainly can. But if we're coming here to take shots at one another, then I'll have to strongly consider not taking part in them anymore. I'm going to the powwow.
Sounds good. So then, if I can just respond, Ren, if that's all right. I think as part of this is a debate, and I did not feel personally that there were jabs at you. I think
you ain't me.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I said you ain't me, and you didn't make those decisions.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. I was an observer. I think that there is a debate that does occur, right? So what
I can totally come here ready to take shots at people.
Well, I'd rather that we debate than take shots.
And I would too.
Right. Okay. So let me just, in closing, say that I think this is going to be probably one of the most competitive races we're going to ever have, because I think we saw today we have 6 strong candidates. And I mean that sincerely. All 6 of you guys did an excellent job today, and it was very good. So I think it's going to be one of the most competitive races we have in a long time. So thanks to the candidates for being here, and for the folks in the audience. We'll do it next Saturday at 11 o'clock in Portland. I'll put that on the website, and somebody else will be emceeing that one. And, thanks for all coming. Appreciate it.
Before we turn off, I just think we got to take a moment and we got to thank Brian. Brian and Chris and others, but have put so much work into making these forums happen for our tribal members, so that our tribal members, wherever they live, can hear from the candidates. So please, everyone, let's give Brian a round of applause.